be on this podcast.
What is up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie, the official K-State representative on the College Huddle. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, the good chef, Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt Marchesini. Tonight, we're doing our locks and fantasy picks for Week 7, but first, before we dive into the episode, we want to give a shout-out to our two sponsors, Anime's Parlor and Pat's Beef Jerky. You know it. You love it. Anime's Parlor is brought to you, this beer crack is brought to you by Anime's Parlor, located at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville in Manhattan, Kansas. Anime's has been in business for 50 years and is an absolute must-visit destination in Aggieville on game days and school nights alike. They are my favorite destination in Aggieville, and I always make a point to go visit my auntie every time I come back to the Little Apple. They feature a wide variety of craft cocktails, draft beers, and everything in between, along with entertainment like live music, comedy, and all sorts of other events every single week. Check out their website, www.animes.com, to get a list of their upcoming events, and go visit your auntie every time you're in MHK, again at 616 North 12th Street, right in the heart of Aggieville, and be sure to tell them Cocaine Willie sent you. The show is also brought to you by Pat's Beef Jerky, located at 401 Main Street in Liebenthal, Kansas. Pat's Beef Jerky has been serving up the finest beef jerky in the Midwest for 34 years running, and they feature mouthwatering flavors like the classic beef jerky, the teriyaki beef jerky, and my personal favorite, the savory beef pepper sticks. There are 3 places where you can get yourself some Pat's Beef Jerky. You can pick it up at either the Fridge Liquor Store in Manhattan or at their original store at 401 Main Street in Liebenthal, Kansas. Last but not least, you can get your Pat's Beef Jerky online at www.patsbeefjerky.com, and they have shipped to all 50 of the United States. So if you have not placed your order yet, what are you waiting for? Use the promo code CATS at checkout. You're going to receive 10% off of your next order. So go use that promo code CATS at checkout and visit patsbeefjerky.com to place your order today. Gentlemen, last week was a weird week. Last week was a weird week, guys. Weird football week. What was the last week that was this weird in college football?
This is the 2007 season reincarnated, right?
Wouldn't that be interesting?
South Florida, #1 team in the country, Rutgers. But I mean, it's just weird watching all these top 10 teams go down, just so, willy-nilly.
And could have been more if the ACC wasn't protecting Miami.
What was your favorite upset that wasn't Alabama? Because that's obviously everyone's favorite upset of the weekend. But
that was a fun one.
That was a fun one. So, okay, it can't be Alabama. I would probably say, I think we really saw Tennessee, there was a lot of love shown towards Nico Iamaleava, but man, oh man, he just doesn't perform. And we saw the same thing with what Avery did at the second half of, what game was that? The Arizona game, where he just runs out of bounds, times runs out. He did that at the end of the game when they needed it. Luckily we were up big in that. Well, we weren't up big. We were only up 7, but luckily we didn't need it. But he did the exact same true sophomore bonehead move, and it cost him the game.
Mm-hmm. That's a good choice. I really enjoyed watching Mizzou pee down their leg pretty extensively. Texas A&M, I do think, is a good team, but Missouri just looked very fraudulent.
They did.
Yeah,
they did.
It's easy to say. I don't know how to say it, but oh, was it me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm on Lag
No.
City today, boys. Just no, I mean Bob started talking, so I'm all in the mix right now. But Missouri, every pundit has said now hindsight's 2020 that they knew that Missouri was a fraudulent team. But I mean, AP voters had them consistently in the top 10. Everybody was loving them up with the Burden love all year, and Brady Cook for some reason because he beat an Ohio State team that didn't have like literally anybody playing for him. He was getting Heisman love. So it was weird watching Missouri, rise as much as they did and then get decapitated on live TV like a Mexican mayor. And it was bad because everybody can go back and say that they saw it coming, but people are lying too. But
for me, it was. I mean, this wasn't a top 10 matchup, but USC was number 11. They got walloped by Minnesota. Like of all the teams, you had to lose to the fucking biggest nerd on the planet, PJ Fleck, wearing this stupid quarter zip with his tie. He's such a nauseating person to have to watch coach a football game, and seeing Lincoln Riley lose to him was amazing. So honorary mention probably to that one, but I mean the Arkansas Tennessee game was an all timer. That was such a fun one to watch, and I hate the rabid pig people, but I give them credit where it's due. That was a fun outcome. So you can't be too disappointed with that.
What about the fall from grace for Michigan? I mean, all the offseason talk about Connor Stallions getting them dubs and stuff and the cheating and all that. And now they're losing to UW to our boy, what's his name?
Jet Fish.
Jet Fish. I mean, Washington hasn't. I was surprised to hear this. Washington hasn't lost a home game since 2021.
That's pretty insane.
That's
great home field
nuts.
advantage.
Yes.
And when you think about the old Pac-12, you don't necessarily think about like intimidating home atmospheres, because my immediate association is UCLA and USC, and they've got the tarps up and everything. And then you've got Stanford and Cal that never had any fans show up to anything. But then Cal has one of the best home atmospheres last week with College Game Day and everything, which was super cool to see. And dude, they got totally robbed. That they got totally robbed by the ACC officials on that one. When they called that roughing the passer, it was just that was a wild one. I was up till 12:30 Mountain Time watching that game, so I couldn't imagine.
That's two games in a row that the ACC is doing some weird stuff in Miami.
I'm glad we're not in the ACC. I'll just put it that way. But let's get into our Week 6 locks. So, all right, guys, we gotta do this, but I'm gonna do it after I read the standings and everything, because whatever. So Matt took the week with a 3-2 record last week. Chef had a 2-3 record overall. I had a 1-4 record. Things are not good for Bob Trollsby. It sucks, but whatever. So Chef, I'll start with Matt. So Matt won the week, 3-2 record. He hit on Arizona State -2.5 versus KU. He missed on Arizona -6 versus Texas Tech. He missed on Oklahoma State -3 versus West Virginia. He hit on Texas A&M -2.5 versus Mizzou, and hit on Sam Houston State -10 versus UTEP. Chef was 2-3 on the week. He missed on KU +2.5 at Arizona State. He missed on UCF -2.5 versus Florida at Florida at the Swamp. He hit on Iowa State -12 versus Baylor. He hit on Washington -2.5 versus Michigan, and missed on Kennesaw State +16.5 versus Jacksonville State.
What was the score of that game?
It was bad. It was
a lot to a little.
Jacksonville State, I think, put up like 60 points in that game. So.
I had a video too describing exactly why, and it luckily it never got uploaded into the outside of this small circle of people that actually heard it. It's never going to see the light.
Never going to see the light of day. And then I was 1-4 on the week. I missed on Arizona -6.5 versus Texas Tech. I hit on Arizona State -3.5 versus KU. I missed on Oklahoma State -3.5 versus West Virginia. I missed on Mizzou plus 2.5 at ATM, and I missed on Boston College plus 1.5 at UVA. So, Matt, you won the week.
Matt won the week, and I want to say this because this is my first locks episode in quite a while, and last one that I was supposed to do, I was the bag boy, and I owe the people a bag episode. So
Yeah.
I will don the bag.
And this is a perfect opportunity.
Great sponsorship opportunity there.
This is
I
a great
the Pats
opportunity.
logo on the bag.
Pats is always represented.
And
this is a great opportunity. Oh my God.
Our locks segment is sponsored by Annie Mae's, but Pat's Beef Jerky also a sponsor of the show. So love that.
Let me talk.
Go ahead.
This is a great opportunity to also, you guys deserve to wear the bags because I defeated your butts in trivia. And if anybody has not listened to the Bosco's Boys trivia episode that dropped on Monday, I obviously just ruined it for you, but it was very entertaining. Especially because Chef talked a lot of smack and Bob didn't talk any smack, and he showed it too in his final result. So I hope he's rolling his eyes. I can't really tell if you're rolling your eyes in there. Anyway, definitely listen to it. Give Bosco's Boys and Scott Wildcat a listen for that Monday show and for every show that he does. Let's get into week 6 locks. Week 7 locks.
Lord have mercy.
Only 5 Big 12 games this week, so it's a little limited for what we can do. I am going to start. I don't know why I'm buying into the BYU train. However, it's a night game in Provo, and I think they will cover a 4.5 spread against Arizona, who admittingly did not look great last week at home. West Virginia hosting the 11th ranked Iowa State Cyclones. I'm picking the upset. I think West Virginia is going to beat Iowa State in Morgantown. This is a trajectory win for Neil Brown, beating the 11th ranked team at home. I think Garrett Green will have a decent game. And then I'm picking UCF, despite who knows if this game, what's going to actually happen with this game. We might have to discuss this internally. But I'm picking UCF 3 points. This game is in Orlando at this time. If it changes, we'll see. But I'm picking their 3 points over Cincy. National game of the week, I was between a few games. I know there's huge games this week nationally. I am picking USC to upset Penn State in LA.
Oh my God.
USC is a 5.5 point underdog against Penn State. I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a huge game. I think USC ends up winning that game, but they're going to cover the 5.5. And Georgia State is my sicko game. Georgia State minus 1.5 versus Old Dominion. And this is only because I couldn't pick UMass again because they are playing Missouri. So I'm going to go something different. But Georgia State is at home, 1.5 point favorite against a 1-4 Old Dominion squad. There are my locks for the week.
All right, I will remove my bag. I have spent enough time in it. I think that was a belated 1 week worth of bag time for me. I'll go into my locks right now. Like Matt said, it is very limited on what we can and can't do. There's not going to be a lot of separation this week, at least in the Big 12 stuff. I'm going to go Utah minus the 6.5. Maybe Cam Rising's playing. Who knows what's going on there? But I still think Utah, coming off of a bye, that they're going to be motivated. They're going to get it done. Minus 6.5. Bang! UCF minus 3. I'm with Matt on this one. I think it's the clear choice here. Cincinnati, they have impressed me a little bit more than I anticipated going into the season, but I do like UCF in this matchup. KJ Jefferson, I mean, there's no way that they can have 2 bad games in a row, right? I mean, 3 bad games in a row. Maybe they can, but we'll find out. And if it happens, don't say I didn't warn you. West Virginia plus 3. I think I'm riding with Matt here. I think Iowa State hates going to Morgantown. They hate it. There's a lot of classic matchups of the Cyclones going down and losing in West Virginia. So I'm gonna go, 3-0 in the Big 12. Mountaineers. Who would have saw this coming? Neil Brown, another raise. Why not? Give it to him. A national game. LSU versus Ole Miss. I think this is gonna be the tightest game out of all of them, really. I mean, we got some stellar matchups, and I think this one is going to be the tightest one. But I got LSU at home, Death Valley. I don't know what time. Can anybody confirm the time on this game? If it's a night game, I don't even understand what they're doing with this line right now. But either way, I've got LSU plus the 3.5. No chance Ole Miss comes out of there with a dub. There's no way. It's impossible. So if they're giving me points, that's crazy. LSU, money line. I don't care. In my sicko game, you don't lose to food. It's just the rules of the world. You just don't do it. In sports ball, you don't lose to food. So I've got UTSA. What are they? The Roadrunners? Let's go. Meet. Beat those rice bowls. Let's go. Oh, they're minus 6.5, by the way. I guess I should say the line minus 6.5. That's crazy because rice sucks.
The line is definitely a helpful thing to have, considering this is a betting segment. But let's go ahead. I'm gonna get into it with my picks for the week, my locks, which nobody should follow because I freaking suck this year. This has been the worst year of Bob's locks ever. But let's get into it. Why not? Let's entertain ourselves here. I'm taking Utah minus 6.5 at Arizona State because who knows if Cam Rising is alive or dead at this point. I don't know if he's injured, if he's healthy. He might be dead. They might have him weekend at Bernie's, just propped up on the sideline. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there. So give me Utah. I don't know. Zach Wilson's little baby brother. Does he have the same interest in women that Zach Wilson has? Who knows?
Shout out to the Cougar
He's kind of balling out sometimes, not all the time, but he plays very Zach Wilson style of football. So give me Utah minus 6.5. Arizona State's good, but they're not that good. Next up, I've got BYU minus 4.5 versus the University of Arizona fighting Wildcats. I like the Cougars this year, much to my chagrin. At the beginning of the season, I didn't think they would be that good. I thought they'd be maybe like a 7-5, 6-6 type of team. But they're riding high still. They're still undefeated. I think they're going to give Arizona at least a pretty damn good shot. I think they win. I think they win and they cover. They win by a touchdown. Arizona was very, very disappointing last week versus Texas Tech. So I don't think they're going to replicate any magic that they had at Utah when they go on the road to Provo for this one. I am Riot Bowl, baby. I love the Riot Bowl. Chef, you were just talking about it. Iowa State hates going to Morgantown. Give me the Mountaineers +3 versus Iowa State in the Riot Bowl. Couches are going to be burning. It's going to be amazing. Fanfare for the ages. My national game. Give me the fighting Will Howards -3 at Oregon at the Ducks. They're going to be coming out of Eugene with a dub. And Ohio State, honestly, I've been pretty impressed with Texas this year, but Ohio State's probably the number one team in the country. They've been the most consistent team with the exception of Texas, but they haven't had an injury at quarterback. Just calling a spade a spade. Give me Ohio State, the Buckeyes. Sicko's game. I'm not finishing that. Sicko's game. I'm taking the 0-5 Kent State, whatever they are, +7.
Golden Flashes.
Golden Flashes. Jaron Lewis. Kent State Golden Flash, famous old friend alert, versus the 1-4 Ball State Cardinals. I'm taking Kent State and the Golden Flashes in a Sicko's game to end all Sicko's game between an 0-5 team and a 1-4 team. Any thoughts or commentary on locks before we move on to our fantasy starters?
I like all the. I mean, I don't. It's gonna come down to what we know outside of the Big 12 because I think we've got a lot of stuff basically covered up on who we agree on and who we don't agree. Well, we basically agree on everything Yeah, everybody agrees on everything. It's just we took different games. So
Yeah.
if we all miss, we get nothing. If they all hit, we're all sitting rich.
For the
So
record, I had my picks in first, so I didn't copy anybody just
that's
to,
true. That is true. That is
just to
true.
go off of, try to ride their coattails or anything. But with that, we're going to move on to our Big 12 fantasy starters. All right, and we are going to get into our Big 12 fantasy starters and standings. So, getting into the standings, let's cover off on last week real quick first. So, as far as the standings are concerned, Chef has a narrow 3-3 lead
Hanging on
overall,
by.
hanging on by a thread. I am 2-4 overall with the win last week, and Matt is 1-5. So as far as who did the best last week, I had 86.8 points. So I might have lost locks, but I didn't lose fantasy. And my leading point getter on the day was my guy, Cam Scadaboo from Arizona State with 28.1 points in their matchup against the Kansas Jayhawks. And like I said on the preview, I thought he was going to eat against the Squawks, and he did. Unfortunately, KJ only had 4.6 points, but that was a brutal performance for UCF against Florida. Ted McMillan had 22.1, Shimon Mateer had 9, and Iowa State's defense coming in, subbing in, had 23 points. Oh, man, what a wild week. And Matt comes in second place last week. His leading point getter was Jaden Higgins from Iowa State with 25.6 points. He had goose eggs from Drake Dabney and TCU's defense. And Rocco Becht comes in second with 19.88 points, and Ollie Gordon has 8.8 in another lackluster performance for Ollie Gordon. Chef rounds out the week with 46.34 points. Has negative points from Oklahoma State's defense, -2. His leading point getter was CJ Donaldson Jr. against West Virginia, which, if you listened to the pod last week, both Matt and I were kind of like, we'll see how this plays out for him with the Oklahoma State defense and also starting two guys for West Virginia last week on offense, which was it was a choice.
I had no choice with the tight end position. Literally, Garrett Oakley was not playing. Like I said in that unreleased video that will not surface, I had no choice but to play him.
Please never say unreleased video where I said I have no choice.
I've been forced into worse things than having to do a fantasy lineup in a video. So, I mean, I'll start. Should I start this week? I mean, I didn't win, so I
won. I won. I get to start. I get to start, bitch. Okay. Okay, I get to start because I had the dub and I had to wear the bag earlier. So I'm going with KJ Jefferson from UCF against Cincinnati. I think he's going to have a bounce back week against a Cincinnati team that I will never believe in, no matter how much more improved they appear to be from last year. I'm going with KJ. I'm going to go with Dylan Edwards at running back versus Colorado. This is only the second start I've had for Dylan Edwards this year. I think he's going to have a big day against his old team. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a lot to prove, and he knows how that team operates. He knows what that defense is going to be bringing because he had to practice against it all spring. So he knows what he's doing. Give me Dylan Edwards for a huge day against Colorado. I've got Travis, my guy Travis Hunter. I think he's going to have a nice day. I think it could be similar to the Tet McMillan situation against K-State, where we just double this guy all game, but he still gets 130 yards. And it is what it is. He's going to have a huge day. I don't necessarily trust our DBs. We'll see how it goes. But I think Travis Hunter is going to have a big day because of that. And then I've got Brant Keithy, as it is pronounced, versus Arizona State. I think he's going to have a nice day. And I didn't have another option I did. I had another option at tight end because my other tight end plays for Arizona State. So I'm just going to go with Keithy and then K-State's defense versus Colorado because I subbed in Iowa State last week during the bye, and I don't feel good about that. Don't feel good about K-State's defense. So that's my team.
That's
Go
certainly a
ahead. Go
team.
ahead, Matt. Every
I
time
will,
Bob has played Travis Hunter, he's dropped like 38 points. So, I mean,
oh, that's good.
real good.
First off, I hate everything about this segment now. Everything. Because Ollie Gordon
Because of Drake Dabney.
Ollie Gordon probably out for the season. My tight ends are abysmal. I don't know. This is just, I hate everything about this segment.
Well, if Ollie is out for the season, then you get to
I get
sub
to
in.
replace him. Interesting.
Yes. And it would be really fucking nice if Kyle Whittingham would just tell us if Cam Rising is not going to play anymore, so I could sub in someone for Cam Rising. But
Love
go
that
ahead.
for you. All right, quarterback Avery Johnson. I did pick Avery in the Arizona game. Did I do it for the Oklahoma State game? I think I did. I did for the Oklahoma State game. And you know what? We're just going to roll with that and see if he can put a great performance together. Running back Corey Kiner at Cincy because Taj Brooks is out this week and Ollie is hurt. Can't make this up. Wide receiver Kobe Hudson. This is his fourth game, and I will never have to play a UCF player at wide receiver again. Good for me. Both my tight ends are on a bye this week, which is basically like both of my tight ends, even if they were playing, I'd be getting the same amount of points. So I did get to pick a tight end who happens to be the 13th best tight end for receiving yards in the country in Joe Royer from Cincinnati. So I need Brendan Sworsby to throw the ball to him 39 times. That'd be great. And then I am playing the Utah defense against
Arizona State on Friday.
I don't know why. On a Friday night in Tempe, that's going to be great for me. But
so here's quick question and point of clarification. So if you sub someone in for a position, do they get to start the additional? So if it's tight end, do they get to start the additional 6 games that they would have had you drafted them earlier in the season, or do they get the remainder of the games?
I think they get the remainder.
I think it's the remainder. So yes. It's Malik Carr or Drake Dabney?
Gotta get to drop.
No, it's not a drop because he's just got buys.
Yeah, I got buys. It's a bye week.
Oh, you have TCU buys for both
yes.
tight ends.
TCU and Houston are conveniently on a bye week this week, so I have a chance to get more than 0 points.
Okay.
Yes, and I mean statistically, like Matt said, his tight ends have been ass. The most points he's ever gotten from his tight ends is 5.2 points. That's not good.
I could get 5.2 points somehow.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I couldn't, but it's fine.
Maybe. I mean, 5 catches, 5 screen passes. Come on.
And then when Ollie inevitably is not announces he's done for the season, I'll replace him and go on a tear. Just like Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey,
shout out to all the Achilles injuries.
Ollie's going to Germany to get his leg fixed and get ready for the draft. So that's my shitty team.
Now my squad, I've got Shador. I mean, he's a statistical, beast. So I've only got one more play with him after this game. Not excited about that because it's countdown to DeQuan Finn time, which I don't know should technically count because I don't even think he's on Baylor's roster anymore. He didn't even travel with them to Iowa State, which is not a good sign. So
no, you have to keep him. You picked him.
We'll see. When that time comes, we will see. I've got RJ Harvey. He has to be better. He just has to be better. I've got 2 more plays with him, I think. Yeah. Nope. After this one, I've only got 1 more play with him. Not looking good for my team. Now I've got Jace Brown and Garrett Oakley, both K-Staters, and my tight end in my wide receiver spot. Probably not the best thing that they're going against the best corner in the country. But Garrett Oakley, maybe he'll slither his way in there because last time I played him, the last 2 times that I've played him, he's got this is Okay. I played him 3 times before today. He's got me a total of 8.9 points, and that was in one game. He's goose-egged me twice. Please, Garrett Oakley, do not do that to me again. Please, I'm begging of you. And then my defense, Oklahoma State, on a bye. Who am I going to go with? Drum roll, please. Brrr. BYU. BYU. I think if we've learned anything about being in Provo, I mean, it could get freaky. They might have a couple punt returns, a pick six, fumble return for a touchdown. Who knows? Maybe that's only against K-State that they can do that. But I've got BYU coming off of a bye versus Arizona, who is reeling.
Arizona is reeling after a heartbreaking loss to Texas Tech.
Oh, reeling. You said reeling.
What
I
did
thought
I
you
say?
said I thought you said really, and then you didn't say anything after.
Oh, I didn't finish my
No.
sentence. That's what you thought. Okay.
No, I heard.
Really?
I heard you say reeling. So I don't know
Yeah.
what Matt's headphones are telling him, but dude, Texas Tech had 18 points off of turnovers in that game and won 28-19.
Crazy. Taj Brooks looked good, though. Did anybody play
That's
Taj
brutal.
Brooks last week? They didn't. Who has Taj Brooks? Oh, that's Matt. He didn't play Taj Brooks. That's unfortunate.
He didn't play
You played
Taj
Ollie
Brooks.
Gordon. That sucks because he had 3 rushing touchdowns. Ooh.
Hey.
Maybe Matt doesn't know ball. I don't know.
Get me out of here.
Go get.
All right, guys. So I want to get your parting shots on the Colorado game before we go into that matchup. In Boulder, under the lights, Folsom Field. First time since 2010 that we're playing them. I am scared.
I'm nervous, but I'm like, I don't feel it yet. I don't feel the anxiety running up my spine. This one is, you need it. You need it. If your goals and aspirations are to get to Arlington, to do great things, you're eventually going to have to prove that you can win on the road. And we had one in Tulane, but our other performance in Provo, in Elevation, similar kind of game, night game, rowdy crowd. You gotta show me something. You gotta show me something because these Colorado fans are, riding high. Let's be honest. I mean, we're both coming off of excellent wins, blowout victories, very similar wins, almost similar scores. What was that? Were they 42-21? And we were 42-20.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the same ballpark, God, I mean, it's just going to be a matchup. It's going to be a style clash because you would think that Colorado doesn't run the ball all that well, but statistically they've been a little more balanced than you think, and you think that they can't stop the run, but in all reality, they've been a better defensive team than they have been an offensive team. So it's going to be what can K-State do, and what is Colorado giving us? And I think we just have to impose our will because that's what you have to do on the road. You have to stranglehold and get the crowd out of it.
I have a serious question for you guys. How much of a role does Dylan Edwards play in this game, knowing that he came from Colorado, knows what they're putting out there, was with them through spring ball, left with a week before the spring game? So he knows. I mean, how critical is that to your coaching staff to be able to have a guy who was inside the locker room? He was doing everything that you could possibly want to have a guy do, watching film, doing all that stuff during spring ball. How much of a role does he play in this game? Just fired up.
I don't see there being a difference in the utilization that we've seen from these other games.
I think that's fine.
The fact that, which I mean, and that's fine because DJ Giddens has been such an integral part of the offense and how he runs the football that Dylan hasn't necessarily had the ability to get a super amount of snaps on the field. Really, what needs to happen in this game is the field position game and the punt return and the kick return game. and getting Dylan Edwards opportunities there and having our special teams block him well enough to where he can get some yards, and the offense isn't starting at the 25-yard line every single, you're starting past the 25-yard line. I do think it can't hurt that he was there during spring, but I also don't necessarily think you are molding your offensive game plan a lot in the spring. You're doing a lot of development from a training perspective, and you're still obviously playing football and things along those lines, but I feel like spring ball isn't necessarily the opportunity where you're learning everything about what you're going to put together on the offensive side, to where he's going to be able to bring a strategic part of what he learned there to our coaching staff or whatnot. So I hope he has an opportunity to where he maybe can shut some people down who were mad that he left Colorado by getting into the end zone or something like that. Because I think in his reality, he wants to be out there on that field, and he wants to be performing to show, hey, I left because of this reason. Yeah, closer to home, whatever, but this is what you're missing. Like, this is what I could have been providing for you this year. So I'm sure there's a little bit of that he's definitely thinking about.
Because I almost think about it from the thought process of, okay, remember last year when, I'm going to bring up an NFL example, but remember when the Broncos picked up Keandre Coburn for a week just to game plan for the Chiefs, and then they offloaded him the next week to the Tennessee Titans. I'm like, they won that game. They did. They beat the Chiefs, and it wasn't even, it didn't really seem like it was, if the Chiefs were ever really in it all that much. So I just wonder, how much value does it have knowing that Dylan Edwards knows their scheme, knows what their defense is going to throw at them, and can help the coaching staff game plan for this Colorado team, in addition to the film and stuff that they have so far through the season. But maybe that's just me speculating and hoping and wishful thinking. But fire away.
I don't know if necessarily like he's got like the secret sauce that makes Colorado go, but insights on like what players are dynamic in these situations. I felt this guy's speed. I know what this guy how he runs, what angles he likes to take. He remembers a little bit of that, but film is where they're going to do most of their hard work. They've got analysts and doing all that stuff that's been scouting Colorado every game that they've had, and they've been doing their homework. So that's where I think most of it's going to come. But Matt said it perfectly. Where Dylan Edwards is going to make the best impact and the greatest impact is in the special teams department. Because if you remember the podcast we just had, breaking the fourth wall here, but he said their kickers haven't been able to get any touchbacks even in elevation. So all this frustration that you see Dylan Edwards have on these these kickoff returns, where he's frustrated that he can't get that, just his hands on the ball right there to do something special with, because the last time we seen him actually, have a real good chance at a return was in Arizona, and he took it to the house. So that was a punt return, but I think on a kick return, he might be able to show a little bit even more of what he's got in his bag. So I think if he gets the opportunity to run a kickback, I think that could really, pay dividends to us having a chance to win on Saturday.
Totally. And one of the other things I mentioned on the pod with David was Colorado's 115th in the country right now when it comes to starting field position as a defense. So that means their special teams is allowing teams to get to the 29.5-ish yard line every single time that there's a kickoff or a punt return situation. And this also takes into account turnovers and stuff too, that every single down or every single possession is starting off at around the 30-yard line. And you get that extra 5 yards compared to where K-State is starting out at. That can make a huge difference, especially when you see games like the BYU game where K-State had a lot of red zone woes. You get those extra 5 yards, maybe it's not as much of a problem.
Yeah, long drives are killers And Matt can attest to this. I mean, you have to constantly, have to drive the ball 75 yards to get down there. Those take plays, especially when, prior to the Oklahoma State game, we weren't all that explosive, especially in the passing game. Running game, we've been explosive, but when you're constantly have to have a 10-play drive, 9-play drive, even 10-play plus drives constantly every time, it wanes on you. That's a lot of plays that you have to get the ball into the end zone. So having better field position where you can do more things, have shorter fields, it makes it so much easier as a play caller and as a team where you're not having to move the ball so far.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons I'm probably so negative on this game is I just this team has, I feel, two identities, and you can play obviously really great at home and you execute at home in all phases of the game and things along those lines. But when you go on the road, it's just a completely different situation, and you have to take advantage of what the home team is giving you. And the easy, low hanging fruit in a lot of those situations is doing things on special teams and executing on special teams. And not getting penalties, holds or blocks in the back. Those are things where you're getting too aggressive in the special teams game and you're not executing, or you've been beat and you're trying to, make face, save yourself. But it's getting a penalty. Those are things that cannot happen on the road. And this offense is just going to be in a position where you hope that you can have short fields and put yourself in positions to where you're not necessarily needing to do 14 or 15 play drives. However, if K-State's going to win this game, those are going to be dry. Like those I think are going to be super key. I do not think a track meet is how K-State is going to win this game. It's going to be 12, 14 play drives that eat up clock, and the final score is going to be 21-17, something like that. I just don't think K-State offensively has showed enough to where they can be in a track meet on the road. Their defense is going to have to execute, and your offense is going to have to eat up a ton of time and making sure they're successful, getting 7-yard, 8-yard runs on first down, and just eating up clock, and then executing in the red zone, which we know is going to be very tough against this Colorado defense.
So you mentioned special teams quite a bit in that monologue that you just gave. What do you think about the Nate Katzer experiment so far? Do you think it's going well? Do you think you want to keep him around? I'm just curious how you. Okay, he's been better. He's been better. It's an incremental improvement from where we were last year and years prior. Between Sean Snyder and now, but. Matt, tell me your legit thoughts on Nate Katzer and the special teams unit right now.
I think one of the big and probably underrated decisions was taking Chris Tennant off of kickoffs and bringing in Simon.
Plan's been doing a great job on kickoffs.
I feel like that's a decision that is, it's very tough because Chris Tennant has been with this team for a long time, and automatically he's not performing, when you're kicking it off. And that's a huge thing. If you're able to get the ball in the end zone, that is, getting the opposing offense at the 25-yard line is absolutely huge. And I think a decision like that was huge. It was a really good step in trying to be on par or beat your opponent in the special teams game. But in reality, the return games have been astronomically better than last year. You take out even the Dylan Edwards, punt return touchdown, which was obviously a huge play, but it just seems like there's more of an effort to try and take advantage of these plays this year compared to last year. And so, I don't think you can say anything negative, or at least you can't say anything that is negative compared to last year. There were some opportunities, of course. We've had guys that, Jace Brown fumbled the ball, or we've had those types of plays, and the BYU punt return touchdown, which was absolutely awful. But I feel like the positives have outweighed the negatives in this situation, and it just has to continue to improve so it can be a strategic piece in how you try and win games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that.
I third that. And my last question is, if K-State's going to win the game on Saturday, what are they going to have to do better than Colorado? What's the key advantage that they have? What is the key to victory, if you will, for the Cats?
Oof, my key to V. Shout out to the Bosco's boys, my boys Scott. Yeah, key to V. I think similar to what you said, how we played Arizona. Travis Hunter is such an animal that it's really going to be hard to like limit his numbers because he's a statistical freak. Like he's just going to get his, but not necessarily limit the other receivers, but control the explosives. Like don't let him get over your back line coverage. Those 3 deep safeties. Don't let him get behind you. Make them drive. 12 play drives. Make them have to work, have to take the underneath stuff and see if they don't get, what's the word I want to say? That they don't get too like anxious that they have to make a play. Make them work the ball down the field. And if they want to run the ball, if they're picking up like 2-3 yards every time and they want to stick with it, let them stick with it, man. But we cannot let the Wester get behind you, Horn get behind you, Hunter get behind you. Obviously, you got to have eyes on him, but you cannot let them get behind you. So it's a pretty simple key to V, but limit the explosives over the top.
I think my biggest one is probably the most underrated one if you think about all the position groups, but being the dominant force on the lines, I think is going to be pretty vital in this game. The offensive line has to overpower this defensive line, and help help DJ, help Dylan when he gets opportunities, and especially Avery in the run game, finding some openings and run blocking and doing a great job there, but also, doing great on the pass blocking and making sure that Avery has time to read through his progressions and kind of run the offense and find guys open. But then on the defensive side too, getting pressure, I think to Shedeur is going to be very, very important here. And getting him in a position where he has to make decisions on the run or, just in decisions in the pocket. Now he's a skilled player. I mean, it's very evident he's a skilled player, and he's going to have his opportunities even if you're blitzing and you're getting inside. So it's also going to be containing him and keeping him in the pocket will be very huge too. So the lines, if we are going to win this game, the lines are going to have to really dominate and be better than Colorado. I mean, I think if those areas do what they need to do, you could have a little bit of, you could potentially have some trouble in the secondary or whatnot, and you're going to give up plays, or you could have some trouble getting open with the wide receivers, which we have seen this year, but still give yourself an opportunity to win.
Colorado is currently, when you look at, again, College Football Insiders, my favorite website, Parker Fleming Stats of War, they are currently bottom 35 or so in college football when it comes to FBS, when it comes to Eckel rate on defense and Eckel rate on offense. So they are giving up big plays within their own 40, and they are also not getting big plays on first downs or touchdowns when they're in the opposing defense's territory within the 40. Whereas K-State, when they're in those situations defensively, they're only allowing 2-ish points per big play, big first down, big touchdown. And what that says about K-State, though, is that means that they are holding teams to field goals in situations where they have those big explosive plays on first down or touchdown, and they're not necessarily allowing touchdowns in those situations. So I know that doesn't necessarily make sense when I say touchdowns, but like they're not giving up the big play. They're giving up big plays on first down, not on touchdown, is what I'm getting at. And defensively, Colorado is also just not great in that territory. And then the other thing for me is expected points added in the rushing game for K-State. K-State is a top 10 team in the running game when it comes to expected points added on every single rush that they have. K-State gets 0.1 points on every single rush that they have.
Wow.
So when you think about that, when you think about the amount of touches that DJ Giddens gets, when you think about the amount of touches that Dylan Edwards and Avery Johnson get in a game where there's maybe a scramble or broken pocket, whatever, with Avery, or you're incorporating Dylan Edwards into the rushing game, K-State, in theory, should have 0.1 points every single time one of those guys is rushing the ball. So they're ninth in the country in that stat. And David Talks Buffs from the pod earlier this week mentioned that if K-State's going to win this game, it's going to come down to the rushing game. And K-State's got a pretty stout rushing game. When you look at all the offensive efficiency metrics, the rushing game is really our biggest strong suit. And if we're going to beat a team, it's going to be on the ground. So I mean, that's why I'm expecting a big game out of Dylan. That's why I'm expecting a big game out of DJ. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be terrifying and nerve-wracking until game time, and then once game time happens, we'll see what happens. But I think if we you establish the running game early and often, and you can get those big chunk plays out of guys like DJ and Dylan, and even Avery, in those kinds of situations, I think it's going to go well for the Cats. But we all picked the Buffs this week, so I'm not feeling optimistic at the same time. That's just the vibe. The vibes pick is the Buffs. The stats pick is the Cats.
Reverse jinx enabled. Let's go. Like, engage the reverse jinx. But do you guys want to have a little fun right now? Do you guys want to have a little fun?
Overs, unders.
Over unders?
You want overs, unders, and we're getting out of here. Fired up.
Yeah. All right. Let's start off something funky. Over under Shador Sanders and Avery Johnson completions. I'm going to set it at 64.
Under.
Under 64.
Oh my fucking God. Wait. Completions?
Yeah.
64. They would have to throw.
Shador throws the ball like fucking 50 times a game. At least.
Yeah, I was going to say Shador might hit that on his own.
Are you kidding me?
Avery is somewhere usually around like 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there.
Okay. Shador in 5 games this year, 26, 23, 36, 25, 28. So I'm saying under.
Okay.
I also the other
under,
reason for me is I think for that to happen, this game is going to have to be pretty high scoring.
I'm going to take the over just to be different from both of you fuckers.
Well, that checks out. So next.
All right. So now we're looking at over under 100 yards rushing allowed by the K-State defense versus Colorado.
Under.
Bob with the under.
Over.
Ooh, Maddie with the over. I'm going to go under as well with Bob. I think Shador is going to be passing the fuck out of it. Over under 3.5 sacks for this K-State defense.
Under
3.5 for Maddie. Under for Bob.
The O-line is improving. It's improving.
I'm going to go over. You guys.
This correlates with my pick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many points do you have them scoring?
31.
31. That's not that. I mean, that's on pace. I mean, that's what they usually average.
Yeah.
So you're saying that we don't stop them at all. They get their average and we get skunked, basically.
Well, we score 17 points. I didn't say 31-0. I said 31-17.
Okay.
What
Well,
did I mean, think of the BYU game here. Let's think of the BYU
how
game.
many? Can you really take anything from that though?
Yeah, I know, but we were
Yes.
down in that
Yes,
game.
they don't play well on the road.
No. I'm looking like Avery. The most that Avery's thrown was 31 times against Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
He was 19 to 31. BYU threw 28 times, 15 to 25, 15 to 28.
That's pretty bad.
So, I don't know.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think the RPO game is going to be in full effect. I think the tight ends are going to be used. And I think Dylan Edwards is going to have some play in this, in that he's been such a decoy the last few games where people have put eyeballs on him, that I think he's going to find a way to leak out and get involved in this passing game. So I've got the completions over 64. That is kind of a high number now that I think about it.
That is a high number.
Can't take it back. Can't take it back.
What if I set it at 58?
No, but you didn't. You set it at 64.
Why did I think Shador completed more passes than that?
I don't know.
Not a stats pod.
Not a math pod. 28,
all I'm going to say.
25, 36, 23, 26.
It's going to be really funny when the over actually hits, because somehow they're throwing the rock around.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. I will say, K-State, going back to 2021, this was probably my biggest mantra, in the 2022 season. When K-State scores 30 or more points, they win the game. We did lose 2 games last year where K-State scored more than 30 points. One was overtime against Texas, and one was the Abu Sama, just totally off the charts anomaly type of game. So going back to Oklahoma 2021, if K-State scores 30 or more points, they win the game, with the exception of an overtime game and a once-in-a-generation snowstorm game with the weirdest rushing explosiveness that I've ever seen for K-State's defense ever. So I think if K-State can score 30, they're going to win the game. If they score less than 30, they're not going to win the game. And that's why I have to score 29-25 with the Buffs winning, unfortunately.
This is the second time this year that you have said a team is going to score 29 points. And I'd really like to understand.
I know I had one of those. I think I had one of those.
You had one of them, Chef. You did.
I had a funky score in there, if I remember correctly.
College football scoreagami.
Count it up. We're going 29 points. We're gonna go.
Some safeties involved.
Touchdown. That's 14. Field goal. That's 20.
29, 25.
Plus 3 more field goals.
So 5 field goals.
So two touchdowns, 5 field goals.
There's no way
the last time 29-24. The last time this occurred with FBS teams was 2010.
That wasn't my guess, though. It was 29-25.
25 is even worse.
29-25 has occurred 21 times in history. It's 21 times in history. But the last FBS
it's gonna be a weird game.
Was NC State 29, North Carolina 25, in November 20th, 2010.
I mean, realistically, all that has to happen is to get these scores we're talking about college kickers, a missed extra point, blocked extra point here or there. I mean, to get to 30 is not an issue.
2-point conversion, potentially.
30 is not impossible. You got 31, which is, that's hard to do.
How is 31 hard to do? It's 4 touchdowns and a
That's 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Yeah, it's not hard to do at all.
Not a math pod.
Not a math pod.
Not a math pod. And with that, we're going to get out of here. Let's hope that we can win this game. Let's hope that the Cats can pull this out. If you're going to be in Boulder, send Matt and I a DM. We're going to be there. We're going to be around. We would love to see you.
You didn't, guys.
Chef, you're not going to be there. You're not going to be there.
You didn't invite me.
Well,
Oh, bitch, please. I've invited you like half a dozen times.
Well,
Anyway.
I invited you to
If
Morgantown.
anybody-
I'll be
hey,
there, I'm
hey.
pretty sure.
if anybody listening to this pod has frequent flyer miles that wants to send Chef to the game and back, now's your chance.
Yes.
And you have to do it within 24 hours because this is going to drop on Thursday morning.
Yeah,
So you got to do it quick, real quick.
quickly.
DMs are open.
Anyway, we're going to be at the game. If you're going to be at the game, say hi, hit us up in the DMs, tweet at us, whatever. Like we'll be around. So again, we want to shout out our sponsors, Pat's Beef Jerky and Annie Mae's Parlor. Remember to visit patsbeefjerky.com and use the promo code CATS for 10% off your next order. Also, we are the K-State representative on the College Huddle. We are also sponsored by Annie Mae's Parlor. I forgot them. I should never forget them. They're the best. We are also the K-State representative on the College Huddle, which is the largest community of fan-driven content in the nation, in the great United States. Check them out at thecollegehuddle.com and follow them on social media at College Huddle. Last but not least, you can follow our show at Cocaine Willie on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram, or follow us individually. I am at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier. And Fireball Matt is at Jack Hartman. Chef.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's win 259 basketball games.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Would have
What?
never guessed that.
Jack
Oh.
Hartman.